The eagle woke up Miles and me and told us we should go to the gym. We arrived at the gym and the eagle walked towards the platform. Miles told me he had not seen an Alaska anywhere and that we should wait for it to appear. When there was a message from Eagle that paralyzed us all. Alaska was a terrible accident and I found myself dead. The gym was silent. I felt very bad, but the only thing I could think about was that she was dead and I would never see her again in my life. Thousands of what you cannot believe in the text of Eagle if it was a joke. But he said no. She hit a car and was found intoxicated and dead. We walked to our room with Miles. I felt very bad, psychically and psychologically. We got a piece and I felt dejected. Just us. Miles hugged me and we comforted each other.
The next day, to relieve the tension, I smoked with Miles in the bathroom. I told him that I felt angry because of the stupidity that she did for her irrational thinking. Miles told me that we had to stop her, so we were also guilty of her death, but I thought that we should not have had to do it. It was unfair that we did something wrong and then she is dead. I was losing, so I went for a walk. The only thing I thought was in Alaska, and I was fed up with her because she did not have a reason to commit suicide. And when I was walking and thinking, I did not realize I had walked 42 miles, so I started to walk back to the creek. It was 5 o'clock in the morning and I went into my room and told everything I did to Miles and fell asleep afterwards. 2 days later, we went to the Alaska funeral in Takumi's car, with Takumi, Lara, Miles and me. At the funeral, I felt very bad for Alaska. The next day, we were looking in the Alaska room for things that were ours or that her aunt was sad to see, and I started talking about the Alaska incident because he avoided the subject. Miles asked me a question, that is where the general is his labyrinth is, and I do not delay in finding him, and he started leafing through the book, where he found a script. How will I get out of his labyrinth? And on a margin note she wrote in her cursive, straight and fast. Miles and I argued that it was very strange, especially because of how Alaska died. Given his clue, it crossed my mind that Alaska could have committed suicide, but Miles did not even think about it because of how he feels about her. I could not stop thinking about that, so I kept trying to solve the death of Alaska.
3 days after I told Miles my theory about Alaska, Jake asked me for his anniversary. They fight and then she feels bad, so she gets scared and goes anywhere. He did not believe this because she was kissing him. Sometimes he thinks that the world revolves around him, and he does not want to face the truth. That is that for Alaska the kiss did not mean anything. In the following days, we tried to solve the death of Alaska, but we only had one clue that supported the theory that it was probably suicide. Due to what the police officer who was crushed by Alaska said, he did not do it. She stopped. She joked. She hit him. A few days after having an argument with Miles, I finished saying everything I thought about him. He got angry and left, then returned to our room and we apologized. One day, Miles and I were trying to figure out how drunk Alaska was at the time of the crash. So we stole the Eagle's breathalyzer and got drunk. And at one point, Eagle almost realized we were drunk. And then finally I hit and I feel really bad. Miles asked me if I could drive in the state I was, and I definitely could not. In the next 2 days I called Jake, and he told me that when she was talking to him, he suddenly got scared. And the other day, Miles also told me that when he was talking to Jake, he would scribble flowers, and then he remembered something. But the clues that just confused me more.
One day we walked with Pooch through the woods, smoking a cigarette, and an idea occurred to me. I said we should do something for her, a joke, something that she would have liked a lot, as a commemorative joke. Pooch said, the commemorative joke of Alaska Young. We will do it every year as an annual event. Anyway, when she was in second year, she came up with this idea, but she wanted to keep it to be our joke. Really a good joke, it's historic. Then start telling him this great joke. It was entirely subvert the patriarchal paradigm and consist of having someone father speak in the middle of the speaker day as a doctor about adolescent sexuality, and a stripper participating in the junior class speaker. After that day I had spring break, so I write all the ideas of how we can improve the job and what things can come out more. The problem we might have will be like what will happen if the speaker day is cancelled or father of Pooch does not want to participate, or what will happen if the eagle calf us in the middle of a joke. But I found a way out for any of the problem we could have. I really want to do this because I did not want to fail Alaska after his death in the commemorative joke.
At the end of spring break, I ended up having 2 notebooks full of improvements and solutions to problems that could arise in the joke. I showed it to Pooch and then to the rest of the group, and I began to explain the joke. Takumi started asking many questions, and then I said, well, first we have to find the stripper, and the second pound has to do magic with his dad and finally start working on it. First, we had to convince the eagle to accept that the daddy of Pooch and the stripper were on the junior class loudspeaker. Meanwhile, Pooch was doing everything possible to convince his dad to do it. I had the most difficult task, to make the joke work to convince the warriors of the week to help us. It turned out to be very easy to convince them because they loved the idea. Now, it was time to find a male stripper, but it became very difficult because he called many agencies and all rejected it, except for one. The owner loved the idea of the joke, but the condition was that the stripper was not going to undress for the children. Thus began the idea of the skipper with the joke, but there was a mishap. Next, the stripper we hired did not arrive at the time he had told us, but after 20 minutes of the original time, he managed to arrive. So the joke could continue and we succeeded. One day, I went to my room and Jake told me that the mother of Alaska died on January 9th and she died on January 10th. He realizes that it is the anniversary of his mother's death. So he gets scared and drives to his mother's grave. We did not know if it was an accident or a suicide. During the following days, Miles and I spent our time studying for our final exams and then giving them. Then I spent the summer with my mom.